Perfect. Okay. Now let me go make sure that they can hear me because I
Yeah.
have been known to do a few lives where I am not being heard because of my headphones. So let's just go check. Good morning, everybody. If you are here all. There we go. Yes, I see captions, so that's promising. That means I can hear. That's how I figured out last time. I was like, wait, there's no captions. Oh, this means why. Perfect. Awesome. So, good morning, everyone. I am here with Miss Michelle, and this is your first time coaching with me, right?
Yep.
So I want to thank her for coming on and for the vulnerability she's about to expose. I think it's really important. But I always think it's awesome when people are willing to put themselves out there in a live environment because it does end up helping other people, as we talked about before. So I just want to thank you for coming on and doing that. And yeah, so let's just kind of like, if you can give, like, I have a rundown of kind of what you want to go through today, but if you want to just fill in some context about what's going on and then what you hope to get out of our chat today.
Yeah. So for this coming year, I've kind of announced to like my boudoir group and everyone following me in my area that I want to be a lot more just about celebrating like bodies as they are, and I want to kind of get more into a that kind of headspace. Like I had a few clients last year. I don't do like heavy editing or retouching or anything. So that's never been like a thing I do. But I did have a few clients this past year who they were very like, just don't shoot anything below the bust, and like don't shoot any, like don't get any photos of my belly. And it was just kind of like, okay, but like I just kind of want to also include, I guess, ways to make people feel a little bit more comfortable with at least getting those shots and putting themselves in that, level of vulnerability in the studio, and be willing to at least look without totally ruining the experience. I don't want them to come to their image reveal and be like, oh my God, no, I just hate it. I hate it. So I'm kind of looking for ways to approach that body positivity and how to like cultivate that sort of sense of community and like body acceptance in my group.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that a lot of people, especially nowadays, are really striving more towards as we shift away from what I think boudoir 2.0. As I say, we're heading into boudoir 3.0 now, where it's like, okay, we know we can look like models. We know we can look glossy. We know. So now we're like, okay, so now can I just look like my fucking self? But not everyone is there for client wise. So one of the biggest things that I always think is really important. Do you do like consultations before they book a session with you, or do they just book and then the first time you see them is at the shoot?
I offer consultations beforehand, and I had quite a few people take me up on that. With COVID, I've been offering people if they just want to do like a Zoom call or something to get to know each other first. And then I also do like a lot of lives in my group and stuff. So
Perfect.
everyone, I've interacted with all my clients before they like
Ah,
actually come in one
um,
way or another.
yeah, that's amazing. And that too is a big part of it. So let's start with just like before they've even considering a shoot. Let's say they're in your group. So I think one of the things that helped me be like really successful in this realm was just like constantly sharing articles, blog posts, things that I've read that challenge beauty standards as they are, and just not necessarily that you have to know like yourself, you're not an expert, but rather just saying, hey, I found this article, what are your thoughts? Because this is where you could start to gauge, are people there, or do I need to bring them with me a little bit?
Mhm.
And so that gives you kind of that idea, which it sounds like you're probably doing anyways because you're doing lives and stuff like that. And so starting in the group is really just like, hey, like, yeah, we can do that, but let's talk about let's get to why don't you want to see your tum? So like maybe you do a live. This is what I would do. This is just coming to my head. But I
Yeah.
would do a live where I'm literally sitting there with like a sports bra and panties on, and my tum's just like front and center. So the camera's like literally just like looking mostly at my tum and kind of angled up at my face. I'm like, we are gonna talk about tums today because pretty much every single client struggles with their tums
Mhm.
in some capacity. And so what I want you to do is, as you're talking about whatever, actually I don't want you to make it about the tum. I just want you to do that. Do like that's how you set it up, and you talk about whatever the fuck you want on your live. Like don't be like about my tum. And then at the end of it, at the end of your live, you're like, okay, now I just want to ask you, did any of you care more about my tum than what I had to say on this live?
I like that.
And so it brings them around to like, fuck. Like no, like so especially if you're talking about, like I would pick a topic that you're super passionate about, like that you could talk for hours about,
Mhm.
because that's how you want to get it across. Because otherwise, if you're like trying to do something else, like talk about something that's like not you, then it won't be passionate. So
Right.
but if you can deliver something you're super passionate about that gets them engaged, that they're not even going to look at your tum. At first they might be like, what kind of angle is that? But the point is that we keep them on long enough that eventually they don't notice and they're just listening to you. So then at the end, you could say, okay, so what we just did there was I helped you correlate that I can do something amazing and share and do something that I'm passionate about while also having my tum present.
Yes.
Right. So it's like role modeling to them how this correlation can happen. And that's something that, and then when they come in, so they book their consultation or whatever. So one of the things I always tell clients, because I get two types of clients in my studio. I get the one that's like, do not photograph my bits. And then the other one's like, I want to celebrate my bits. Like there's nobody in between that's just like, whatever, I just want to like just exist. Like they're literally the two camps. In both cases, I make sure to say, no, I am not like, if you want that, I may not be the photographer for you, and that is totally fine. But let me explain my process. My job is not just as a boudoir photographer, but also as a body image activist, or whatever you want to call yourself, like a body image coach, whatever, is to not like vilify or celebrate. It is literally to help you correlate that your body was present when you did this cool fucking experience. So your tummy might be present in some photos, but other ones it won't. It's not good or bad in either case, because whether we hide it or not, your tum was there. This body was there. If we put it into the shadows, it was still there. And it
Right.
still helped you do this thing. My job is not to like, because then I say, because otherwise we're focusing too much on the body. And aren't you tired of that? Like, that's my biggest thing is I'm like, aren't you exhausted of just caring about your body all the time? Don't you just want to do something cool? And they're like, oh my God, yeah. So my thing is like, you say no, but then you educate why and let them decide if they are in a place to continue forward with doing a session. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh my God.
And that has been like super, super powerful for me to have to set to not set their expectations, but reset their expectations. Because the thing is, I think when people, what they think tum photos are going to look like is not what they actually look like, right?
Right.
So we know that because we do it. They don't know that. They've seen other people's photos. They've seen the photos that are chosen for social media, which bits are hidden usually. And things like that. So that's what their expectation is. So it's important for us to say, listen, in some of the photos I show you at your reveal, you are going to see your tum or your arms or whatever your bit is. You are going to see it. You don't have to choose them. I don't know how you do your collections, but like I do a la carte. So they choose their photos at the reveal. So it's like, you don't have to choose them, but I want you to know that at least one person thinks that part of your body is worthy of documenting. And then they're like, oh, because my job is not to tell them how to think about their body. I just want to let them know that I think it's beautiful, but ultimately you don't have to choose it. That's okay.
Right.
right? You don't have to like it, but I need you to understand that somebody out there does think your body is good. You know, it just is. It got you here. It's got you in the door. Like, it can't be that bad.
And that's kind of like another thing. I have had a lot of clients who have been very like, oh my God, like I thought I was gonna hate my body, but I love these photos. Like it totally changed the way I felt about my body, myself. And they like have really been talking me up in the group as like, she will make you love yourself. And I'm like, don't tell people that, because like I feel like it's a fluke. I'm like, I don't know how that happened. Like if I don't,
So,
like it's just
so
fiction.
So your response to that isn't no, because you are helping them. That's the thing. It's like you're not doing it, but you are a catalyst for them. So that's how you rephrase it. And I always say the same thing because clients used to do the same thing, or whenever I can go back to shooting, they say the same thing. It's like, oh, you did this, because they are afraid to take responsibility for their own self-love, because if they take responsibility for that, then they are also responsible for their self-negativity.
Ooh.
Right? So I think that's a very important thing you can talk about in your live, is talk about like, listen, friends, I know you think that I'm a magician and I'm doing all this magical shit behind the scenes. And while yes, I will agree, I am a little talented, pat myself on the back. I have self-assurance. So, I'm just like, yeah, obviously I know what I'm doing. Like, I'm consistently good at my work. But I need you to understand something, is that by you constantly saying that I'm responsible for you feeling this way, that means you never have to take responsibility for feeling good or bad about yourself, which means that when you feel bad, you might blame me when you look at a bad photo. That can't be, this isn't my problem. No, no, not my, what is it? Not my circus, not my monkeys. Like, but I think having that conversation, because people do that without even knowing they do that, right? They're like, oh no, like it's a subconscious thing that I don't think I could look that good without her. No, that's not true. This is what you look like. Like, this is what photography is, you nuts. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is what photography does. It documents. Can I help you work through your fears to do the thing? Yes, I can help you on your journey, but I am not responsible for undoing 25 plus years of negative self-talk, my friend. Oh no, you are not putting that on me. And so I also set that expectation during the consultation as well, because a lot of clients come in saying like, this will be the thing, this will be the magic. I'm like, no, you think I'm just like a diet pill you can take and all the weight will be gone and magically you'll be confident? No, I am not this. I am not that. I need you to understand that I will help you, and I can give you tools and suggestions, and I will make you have an amazing experience, keep you super comfortable. But ultimately, you're responsible for this. I can't really change that. Right. And I think before they even come in for the shoot, by me saying that, they're like, I own that? Okay, shit. Because now they have some thinking to do. Like, yeah, you're right. And every time they're like, oh, I'm so excited, I'm going to do the shoot and it's going to change me. And I say that, I see them like, oh, yeah, you're right. It's because they never thought of it before that way, because we just do what we need to do, right, to get us through. So I think having that conversation. Now, I do want to address, though, you thinking that it's a fluke is your own imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And lack of self-worth showing up. So I feel we need to address that little demon.
Oh yeah, that's like a huge, because I'm so afraid that I'm gonna like not be found out necessarily, but like be found out in a way that I'm going to let someone down, and that's gonna be like.
So here's the thing, you will.
Yeah.
But this is why, by us setting those expectations with our clients ahead of time to say, yeah, I will do my absolute best. I will do what I know how to do, and I will do it if you let me, the way that I know how to do it, and here's how I do it. Blah, 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 blah. But I also need you to show up and let me do that. And here's how I need you to show up. And here are the expectations I would suggest that you have in mind. So one thing I also started suggesting to clients is like for you to think that you have that much power over clients is a you issue now. So like, just as much as you think you don't, but yet you still think you do because it scares you that you will let them down.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you can just go into every shoot and say, you know what, today I'm going to do the best that I can to the best of my abilities. That's all they can ask for. Nobody can ask for more than that. That's not fair. That's not fair for people to expect more than what you have promised them. And if you're promising more than what you do deliver, that's called delusion. But and overconfidence. But if that is the case, then you need to reevaluate that. But if that's not the case and you're like, well, the feedback is matching it's matching, then chances are this might be a me problem, that I think this is all a fluke and I'm going to be found out and this is going to happen. Because the thing is, let's say you did let someone down, what would happen?
I would feel terrible. Like I would be taking responsibility for that. Like, oh my God, it's going to be my fault that they're going home and like feeling badly about their body because they didn't like, the way I showed it to them.
So this is why I love doing consultations and setting all my expectations up front, because similarly, I'm a people pleaser. So naturally I want them to like me. So what are some of the ways that I had to realize, like, what are some of the things that I can do to mitigate as much false expectations as possible? And that was doing in-person consultations, super important. I always did them since the beginning. I just felt it was important. Doing in-person reveals, setting expectations at the reveal to say, listen, I could take the best fucking photos on the planet, but if you are in a negative mindset and you already decided you're going to hate these photos, I can't help you. That's all you're going to see. I can tell you. That's how the brain works. Right? And they're like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, I know. I've done this enough to know. Right? So, but this is where it's really important for you to fill up your cup in every day to say, I did good work today. You don't need compliments to tell you that. You don't need reviews to tell you that. You just need to know I showed up. This is how I deliver this in the way that I know how now. And this makes me feel good when I do this. Again, you're correlating, right? I'm
Yeah.
correlating that when I show up and do this thing, I can do this is good work, right? So, but nobody can do that for you. You're the only one that can do that for yourself, because if you're relying on the client's testimonials and reviews, and while they're great, then you're also going to be taken down by their negative feedback, or even like not even negative feedback, just like constructive feedback. You're going to be like, oh my God, I ruined their life. They're like, I just told you had a spelling mistake on your website. I don't understand why she's so upset. But the thing is, you're giving too much power, right? That's the thing is, so we need to stop giving power to the compliments, because then we will feed into the negative stuff as well. And I talk about that all the time, but it's like so important. And we can't expect other people to fill our cup up for us. They got to be working on their own damn cups so they can be confident when they come in for a photo shoot. And then when they do say nice things to us, it's a good pat on the back. It's good validation for what we already know to be true. Right? So every day you need to show up and say, I did good. Like, I felt good at the end of the shoot. Like, I delivered top-notch customer service, or you know what, I tried a pose I never thought I could do before, and I did it. How exciting. Or like, I edited these, like, I lit this in a totally different way than I normally wouldn't have, and holy crap, that was cool. I'm so glad I took a chance on myself and tried that. Nobody can do that for you. Only you can do that. So that helps break down that fluke part, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because then the other thing is, I think you're very future oriented based on what you wrote in your questionnaire. I also am very future oriented, which is why it's stressful, because uncertainty is our guiding force. It's like, you don't know what's coming, so you best be working now. Like, that literally is the whole thing. And there's this like always a little bit of stress of uncertainty, because shit, life is uncertain. You never know what's going to happen. So the best thing you can do is say, what can I do today to make sure that tomorrow Terry is happy? And that might be waking up earlier to make sure you have an hour before you see your client, so you're in a clearer state of mind to deliver a better experience. It might look like shifting all of your expectations that you set for clients currently, and literally just being like changing your website. It might look like that. It literally could look like 1,000 different things, but that's the only thing you can control is right now. So if you are stressed about the future, then every time you're like, oh God, I'm stressed, it's like, okay, then what can I do right now that will help future me?
Right.
Right?
Like,
Does that make sense? So that's what I found had to help. So I'm like going for walks every day. That will help future Terry because then she won't be a little pissy, and and I'll be getting physical activity so my body won't break down and like all these things. And then it's like, okay, and then list making. I know list making, Terry, needs to happen or else shit goes sideways and nothing would get accomplished. So even though in the present it doesn't feel nice sometimes, it's like, oh, I just want to sleep a little longer, I just want to do this, I always think, will future Terry thank you for this? Yes she will, so get the fuck out of bed. Right? So, and I think the more we can think about that, especially people that are very future driven, is very important to do that. The other thing about people that live in the future is that you might have a vision for what you want your business to be and you're ahead of the game, so it can feel like, are they ready for this? Like, we call, like, when people are new to things, they're like the neophytes, the people that are like, I just want to get on the ground floor because it's new, like, it's never been done before, right? So it's exciting because we're like, nobody's been here before. Maybe in your area you're the only one that's not photoshopping or like doing this stuff. That's exciting, but it's also new, which means that there's going to be some pushback, because if the general population is used to seeing photos that are super glassy and whatever, you now have to really hammer home your message of why not photoshopping is ideal. Not to put down those people, because those people are
mhm.
also important, but here's why you might opt for this type of session instead. Does that make sense? So you have to like double down harder on that. I'm a future person too. So I always find myself ahead of the curve and having the faith that the world will catch up eventually. Like, the cool thing is we are usually ahead of it, which is awesome. We see trends coming before they're a thing. We're like, hey, I got this idea. And then like 6 months later, we're like, wow, I knew it. It's a cool experience. It's almost like psychic, but not. But I think the best thing you could do is say, okay, I want to be there first. Like, I know it's going to be slow going. Set expectations for yourself. I'm a big expectations person. That's my favorite thing. I used to maybe be more of an no, I'm still kind of optimist, but I still am like, what what realistically can I expect from other people? I can't control other people. I can only control myself. That's the biggest thing. So it's like, so when I'm upset that something went the way I didn't expect it to, I'm not upset because it didn't go the way it was supposed to. It's because I didn't manage my own expectations accordingly.
Right.
Does that make sense? It's
Yeah.
never about the other thing. It's literally about that. It doesn't mean you can't feel sad. Doesn't mean you can't feel bad about it, but rather saying like, okay, what did I learn from that? And how can I ensure that maybe this won't happen again later on down the road? But setting expectations for yourself around, okay, how will I know when I've done a good job? What does that look like to you? Like, how do you know when you've done a great job? What does that look like?
Um, if I get to the studio early and I know I've got everything ready and set, I mean, I know my studio pretty well right now. So, like I know my lighting and everything. And um, I feel like if the client has a good time and like everyone's kind of, there's a good vibe, because I try to make it, like you said, like a whole experience. And I guess at the end of it, if there's like a photo on the back of my camera that I was like, oh, holy shit, yeah. Like, then that is kind of when I leave the studio and I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I can't wait. This one photo alone, like, I just want to edit that. Yeah, I just want to see it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that might mean sometimes you have to stay with a session until you get that photo. So you may have, like, that might be something that you're like, until we get this photo, that's when I know I'm done. But I will keep trying until I get that photo. That makes me go like, yep, we got it. That's it. I know. I think it's Stephanie Wells of the Girlfriend Experience Boudoir. That's what she said. She's like, yeah, I'll just shoot, and then when I'm done, I'm done. Like, I know I'm done when I know that I'm done. Like, so that might mean some of your sessions on a day that maybe you didn't get there early and maybe you're a bit more stressed. And so it takes you a bit longer to get there. That means you might have to push a little harder. But once you have that photo, then it's like, okay, we're good. But having this like definition of what success looks like to you will help you fill up your cup more. So that way you're like, no, this is the process that it takes for me to feel good every day going to work. So that way, if I do have a client that did not have the pause, the other thing too is when we have clients that don't have a great experience in terms of their photos, because the thing is,
Mhm.
if we've done everything we can, they have a good time during the photo shoot, but then they see the photos, and that's the thing that sends them for a bit of a loop. Is it's unfair of us to think that that is our fault, and here's why. I actually, during my expectation setting for the reveal, I tell clients, I'm like, listen, I give you full, like, if you don't like your photos, I don't care. I'm like, I am confident in my work to know that if you're seeing them, they're good photos. Like, I wouldn't show you shit photos.
Mhm.
Right. So if you're seeing them, they're good. So that means if you don't like your photos, that I actually want you to tell me about it because then maybe there's something else we can talk about. We can figure out, is it the way your body looks? And then you can ask the question. So if they're like, oh yeah, I just didn't like the way my stomach looked in this photo, then you get to start with the why questions. What is it about your tummy you don't like in that photo? Oh, well, it's big and it's bigger than I thought it was. Oh, and what does that mean? Well, it means that I've gained weight, I've let myself go, and what would that mean? Right? And then you just keep going down this rabbit trail and they're like, well, that means that I'm not living up to my what I'm supposed to look like. Oh, who taught you what you're supposed to look like? See? And it's like this whole like rabbit trail, but now they are critically thinking about why they don't like their photos. You might not change their mind in that moment, but you're planting a seed for them to consider it when they get home, and they will be thinking, I promise you, they will be like, well, nobody's asked me that before. Nobody asked me who taught me this. Nobody's asked me why do I think this way. Nobody's had this conversation with me. Have you had that? Has anybody had that conversation? Well, except for maybe today, but like, has anybody had that conversation with you?
Yeah, pretty much no, except I think it's kind of gone over a little bit in your post-session confidence packet. I was looking over that last night, and I
Okay.
in there a little bit, so I was yeah, and I was like looking at myself, like kind of, oh, like these are things I should be, I need to read that like every week because I swear every time I read it, I'm like, oh.
But it literally is like, just it's not our place to tell them what to think or how to feel, but rather this is why like lots of people are like, oh, I don't know what to say because I'm not an expert in this. You don't need to be a fucking expert. You need to figure out the best thing you could do is figure out, get them to figure out, not you figure out, get them to figure out what is the actual problem, because it is never about the body. Like, this is why I always say we have people that are size 0, size 24, and they all hate their bodies. So like, it can't be about the body. Like, what? It has to be about what we were taught about our bodies. So, but they don't know that. They just know that it's the body that's the problem. So our job is to say, and what does that mean? And where did you learn that? And who taught you that? Is that thought serving you? That's always a favorite. You're a grown ass adult. Do you want to keep that thought? What are some ways that we could shift that thought, do you think? That's a good question to ask, because now they have to troubleshoot for themselves. My biggest thing is, if I can get people to critically think just with one thing, they're going to start critically thinking in other aspects as well, not just body image. Right? It's a process too. But so that's the thing. So I love clients that don't like their photos. I actually noticed that this year. My favorite clients were the ones that were like, ah. And I was like, yes, now I get to work. Right? Because up until that point, they're like, yeah, I love my photos, thanks. But like, I wasn't making a meaningful impact on them. Like, sure, I'm sure it was fun and joyful and they had great photos. Yeah, kind of meaningful. But it wasn't literally life changing in the way that sitting with somebody and say, like, I hear you. You don't like your photos. That's totally cool. I don't take offense to it. Let's talk about it. Right? And that's where, again, you need to be confident that your work is good enough that if they're seeing it, it is good. Right? And so if they have an issue with it and you can get to what that issue really is, then it's easier to have the conversation. Now, if somebody sat with me and they're like, "Oh, I don't like this photo because the light is too bright," or whatever, I'll be like, "Well, that's just the style I chose for this particular photo, but there's other ones." Then that's a me issue. That's fine, or not even an issue, but that's just my artistic vision. That's just how I
Mm-hmm.
shoot. So then I can explain. Well, this is, if you look at my Instagram, this is what you normally would see. So but there's a variety of different lit images we can choose from. So don't worry. You know, no big deal. So, but I think it's like if you can be confident in your work, then you would welcome any conversation around it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a light bulb moment really to hear that, because yeah, if someone has an issue with the lighting or the set or whatever, that's one thing that's okay, but it was that I am definitely taking too much responsibility for the way they feel about their body, and knowing that that's not my job, and okay, that's yeah.
But I think, yeah, and so I think that's important because there's also people that don't even think about caring about people's bodies, and that's a whole other shitstorm to unpackage. Because a photo shoot can ruin somebody's self-image. We've all been there. We know this, right? So that's where setting the expectations ahead of time about why. And actually, so with the Boudoir University coming out, I just watched Bria's course on it, and she talks about mitigating harm in photography and how the power dynamic between the photographer and the subject, it's important to convey what the expectations are from both parties. So my
Mm-hmm.
expectation is you won't bring me a fucking baby doll dress, but if you do, I will shoot it, but it may not look like my other work. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's an expectation. So it's like you can bring it, but the photo may not look like what you are expecting because that's not what I normally would do. Are you cool with that? Yes, no, cool. Right? So it's good to care about taking care of your client's body image. Absolutely. And their bodies. They are trusting you with something super vulnerable, but it is also super important that we don't take full responsibility
Right.
for their body image issues and be honest up front and say, if during the consultation you're I think it was Mariah shared her story in the group about a client that was terrible towards herself. And if that was a client that came for a consultation, I'd be like, I don't think you're in a place to do a photo shoot right now, to be honest. This is an incredibly triggering experience if you are this far down into self-negativity that it could end up worse. Right? And so you have to be okay to say that and be the professional to step in and say, because I care about your body image and because I care about you, I can't actually take you as a client right now.
I have had four now, women reach out this year, and all of them have undergone a really drastic weight loss, and all of them said that they wanted to do this, but they didn't know if they were ready because they didn't see their body the way it looked now. They could still see an older version of themselves, and they just weren't ready. They wanted to do it, but they weren't sure they were going to like the photos. And so for all those, I just kind of, I talked to them about it, and I sent them the post session worksheet and told them maybe you can find something in this, it's some tips and blah blah blah, and we can always revisit this. I'm not going anywhere. You can come find me. And now I have one of those women who is okay, I'm ready now. She got in touch with me a while back, and now she's okay, I'm ready. And I have done sessions like that before, but I just want to make sure, again, it just kind of felt like a fluke, I want to say, because I didn't really do anything different. But, I feel like they're in a different headspace than maybe a lot of other clients who don't have that kind of altered view of themselves. So I did a session like that before where she had lost a lot of weight and she had a lot of, loose skin, but it went great. It was awesome. She loved it, raves about it still. but I want to make sure, like I said, that it's not a fluke. And so now that this woman is coming to me, like, okay, I think I'm ready. I also want to make sure, like, is there anything in particular you would do for someone who knows that they see themselves maybe a little
Yep.
differently?
Yeah, so I raised my session. Well, now it's different because I'm not really shooting as much. But previously, when I was doing session fee and then images separately, I actually raised the cost of my session fee and I allowed people just to come in for the session. They never had a reveal. It was literally just to have the experience of doing a photo shoot, dressing up, having somebody yell positive things at them. And usually that's for clients that have like extreme body dysmorphia and eating disorders, and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, that they're like, I just like, I see the women after the photo shoot, but I'm afraid the photos are going to be triggering to me. And so I'm like,
Right.
yeah, we can still do the photo shoot. Like, let's just give you an amazing day. So I just raised the cost of it, because there's no editing on the back end part. And then I do keep the photo. So I'm like, so that way, if later on you feel that you're in a safer place of mind or whatever, and you want to come back, you totally can. I'll keep them for a year. But if at that time you don't want them, then I will purge them. But ultimately, I just want you to have an amazing experience, and that might just start you on the journey to feeling more comfortable to having your photo taken. So I think it's like, yeah,
Love that. Like,
yeah, like we can. There's no one way to do the things. I think that's like really important for people to understand. It's like, and that's why. So I posted the question in the group today. I don't know if you saw it, but it was like, what do you do it for? Right? So for me, it was all about empowerment. So I'm like, okay, what are all the ways that I can empower people? Right? And so me not showing them their photos was an empowerment process because they were not, it would have been disempowering to them to have to see, to think that they had to see their photos. Does that make sense?
mhm.
So
Yeah.
I just, yeah, you just do whatever the fuck you want. Like, we don't get into this business to do it the way everyone else is doing, right?
I love that. Oh my God. That's, yes. Oh my God. So many light bulb moments that it's like, oh,
Yay! That's what I love doing this shit.
especially because like I have been so, I mean, completely 100%. Like, if I'm not with my daughter, like actively, I am reading or watching lives or watching videos. Like, I'm learning in some way. And
That's
that
exactly.
does kind of get you into that like box of like, okay, this is the way things are done. So holy
Yeah.
shit. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, well, I actually have a blog post that's coming out at the end of the year because I haven't really announced to people that I'm not shooting as much, like my clients and stuff. So, well, if they see this on my YouTube now, they'll know. But anyways, but well, it's on my website now. But anyways, a blog post that's about you may not be a boudoir photographer, and the whole reason behind that is like boudoir photographers are a very specific box. This is what boudoir photography looks like, editing, like according to the masses, anyways. You might be more than a boudoir photographer. And so that means you can go outside the box and you can do things that you're like, you know what? I think that this would be the thing that would give that would make me feel good about doing this for the client. Then do the thing. It doesn't have to fit into a genre. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, like, in that question I asked in the group today is for that purpose. Is like, if people can, like, if we go look at that list, there was like, when I last looked at it, there's like 40, I think, or I don't know, there's a lot of different words, but very few of them were the same words. Which means, like, so why are we all trying to run our businesses the same way if we're all doing it for different reasons? Like, friends, come on, there's different ways to do it, like, but you need to know why you're doing it in the first place, right? And yeah, and I think that's the best thing that we can do for ourselves and therefore for our clients. If I had just like kept doing boudoir the way I was taught it and I never would have created body image boot camp. I never would have created confident curves, and like I never would have started, like, I just, there was so much I wouldn't have done. And I feel that the world would have missed out. Self assurance, but
You're right.
but there's a lot of stuff that I executed that if I just looked around at what everyone else was doing, I'd been like, "Ooh, nobody else is doing this. That's maybe I should not." Then there's so much shit that never would have actually happened. So yeah, so don't, like, yes, learn the things. Always learn the things. I think that's super important, but take from it what you need and then fuse it with your own goodness. You know what I mean? Like, how can I take that knowledge and then turn it into me? I think that's the key.
Oh my God. Yes. I love that.
Yeah, well, good for you and like having this conversation, right? That's the thing is you had to take a chance and do something kind of scary. You're not just like a one-on-one in not just you and me. Like this is gonna go out there to the world. So, well, I don't have that many followers on YouTube. So I did get an email saying I have my 500 subscribers, so that's exciting.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I recommend you to like every boudoir photographer I come across because
Oh, thank you.
your resources are just like they're so different, and I don't think people realize how much we need this in our.
Well, that's why with the Boudoir University, that's my biggest fear is like people be like, oh, but there's a lighting guide for the same cost, and I'm like, yes, but we're literally like changing lives over here.
Yeah. Oh my God, for real. That post session worksheet alone has just been like a life changer. It's crazy.
That's amazing. You're the first person I've heard feedback from that it like actually makes a difference, not just for the clients, but for you too. So that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I love it. I've read it a million times, and I love sending it to my clients. And I've had so many of them be like, "Oh my God, like what? This is great. Thank you so much. This is so nice to have." And it's full of like just amazing, useful, actionable steps. And I love that.
Awesome. Yeah, and you can send it beforehand. You don't have to wait it could be a pre-session if that's more your jam. Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely been sending it, like I said, with clients who are kind of like, I don't know if I'm there yet. And it's like, hey, I have this resource that you might like.
You could even split it up because if you're doing the stuff, because there's what, 10 things in there? I think I included in the resource, something like that. So you could take like what you think would be beneficial before a session, test it out, and then make that into a pre-session. And then you could take the other 5 and say, okay, now that you've done the thing, here are 5 ways that you can continue this. So then that way it's like a little bit on both sides, which I think is important to have that extra touch, right? So that's what I might recommend there. Yeah, there's no one way to do it. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yes. Oh my God, this is awesome. I like have so much to just go over and freak out about now. Like this was
Yay! Good. Do you have any other questions or anything else I can help you with or brainstorm with for you?
I guess just really quick, because I've had a lot more recently. I don't know if it's like Valentine's Day coming up. A lot more couples reaching out to me, which is awesome and great. But just, is there anything in particular you would do for couples to make them feel, I guess, a little more comfortable? Like every couple session I've done has been great, but I'm always kind of looking for like anything extra, especially because with couples, you generally, I've found there's like one partner who doesn't necessarily want to like admit that they're nervous about it. Like they want to be like, this is fine, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah. I think like I don't really shoot couples that often, but the ones that I did, I definitely again would do an in-person consultation or whatever. And what you can do is I think it's a therapy thing for couples. Or actually, you know what? No, I know where I saw this. Angela did our sexuality and boudoir pillar for the Boudoir University. This is where. And so there's a form that she has that each partner fills it out. And it says like, what do you want? Yes, no, or maybe. So on the side, there's a bunch of lists of like, so you can list like the different, like how, because everyone runs their couple sessions a little differently. So maybe write down a few of the things that you like to, like your boundaries, like what are the things that you would include? Nudity, not nudity, lots of making out, like whatever it looks like. Again, I don't really shoot couples, so I'm not sure. Do you want more cuddly or like sexy? Like, what you want. And then have each of them fill it out separately. And then on a call during a consultation, you come together and talk about the boundaries and the responses. And you could have questions about body image as well. Say like, what are your insecurities about yourself that that maybe your partner is not aware of that you would want to communicate to them? And so, because it's easier for people to write it out on paper, and then you can facilitate almost like a couples therapy session discussion before the session actually happens to say, okay, so now that we're all on the same page. This is so from your questionnaires, here's what I've recognized that I think we're going to go not like we want more cuddly photos where we're just snuggling and like kissing and touching a little bit, but nothing too too saucy. And then like so they hopefully will have talked about their body image with each other and say, okay, like they're really, and then during the shoot, you could say, so during the shoot, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get partner one. I'm going to get you to show the other person how much you love that part of them. Right. So how can you like, and you can show them like with your hands, I want you to show them how much you love that part of their body. Or with your lips, I want you to show them how much you love that part of their body. Or just like, yeah, whatever, however you want to do it in a playful way. And because, and again, I would set the expectation for this because we're talking about insecurity. So I would say, okay, so now that we know this, I want you to know that during your session, this is, we're not going to focus on it necessarily, but I am going to have each of you support each other. I want you to support each other to help you with these parts of your life. And here are a few ways that we're going to execute that during the photo shoot. Something like that. I don't know. You maybe don't use the word insecurity, but just like, do you have any concerns? That's always a way I like to phrase it. Because if they want to bring their body into it, they will. But I think, yeah. Have you, do you know, what is it called? Hold on. Jesh DeRoe has like these prompts that you can give people. I think Ore uses them for her stuff too. She's an amazing couples photographer. But anyways, they're just like really beautiful prompts. I did these for a couple session I did like a few months ago with Jill and my assistant and her partner. And there's fun ones like where it's like playful. But there's also ones where it's like, look at the person in the eyes and communicate how much you want to take away something that from their childhood that hurt them. And so like they have to communicate it with their eyes, and eye contact for any extended amount of time makes people bawl like babies. So right. So just like stuff like that. Let me go see if I can figure out what they're called. I cannot remember for the life of me. Photography prompts. Josh DeRoe. Of course he's got a like difficult name. Who is calling me? Nobody. Oh, Superfeel. It's called Superfeel.
Superfeel.
Yeah. So you can get, it's like an app on your phone you can get and stuff.
Okay.
And or you can just print it off or whatever. Can you link? Oh yeah, I will definitely. Somebody just commented. I will definitely post that. Yeah, it's if you go to the Everybody's Education thing, you can download it there. But I will go grab that shortly. Let me do that while we're talking. But yeah, does that help with
Yeah,
with the
sure,
couple stuff? I
definitely.
don't shoot a lot of couples. You may want to. I think people that do a really good job of couples. Aroha. I don't know if you're in Aroha and Jessica's education platform. Coastal Collective, I believe it's called. You may want to go check them out. Like they both shoot couples, I believe, but I know Aroha definitely shoots saucy couples. You know that. So yeah, and when I'm so awkward shooting couples. Like, okay, so here the reason why though, I think is that I identify as asexual. So like sexy time is not like sexy to me. I'm like, this is awkward. Like I am an awkward human. So like for me, I tried it, and I could not just do it. You know?
That's fair.
Like,
I did not think I would enjoy it, but I really,
well,
I
that's
don't
the thing. It's like I think that's where it's important to try the things and then
know.
decide if that is like if you like it. And so I tried it more than once just to make sure. I was like, man, I don't think this is for me. And the unfortunate reality is that there's not a lot of people in Winnipeg that actually shoot couples. So I know I'm missing like a huge market of people, but that's not why, again, I don't do it for that. Right. The reason why I do things is for a totally different reason. So that was the other piece why it just didn't align with me, was because it wasn't in line with why I was doing the work that I was doing to begin with. And there's enough people out there doing it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions before we take off for today?
No, just thank you so much again for this educational space and like everything you do and everything. Like yeah, I just love all your resources and then just
Hey.
know about them. Like that is just the coolest. And this, like the live, oh my God, it's awesome. Thank you so much. This has helped
You
immensely.
are very welcome. The more I can do to help people go forth and like the more you can be authentically yourself, the more your clients can. That's the thing. That's like the biggest thing is if I can challenge you guys to like tackle your own kind of inner things, then you'll be like, oh shit, that worked for me. Now I can deliver that to my clients. And that makes you that much more powerful, which therefore helps my mission of empowering as many people as possible. So
Awesome.
ultimately, it's a little self-serving.
Whatever, I'm happy with it.
But it takes a team, so that's why we're doing it this way. But thank you so much again for like telling us all the things that you're like working through and all that good stuff because that's the hard part. And being on a call with me and letting me just like babble away, that was great. And if you need to refer back to this, it will be in the group in the video section or media. They always change it, but anyways, it'll be in the group somewhere,
Oh,
as well as on my YouTube channel as well. So if you're like, what the fuck did
awesome.
we talk about? Then you can refer back. Awesome. Well, I will talk to you later and everyone else. Don't forget, I'm going to be live in the Looks Like Film Bear group doing the last section on imposter syndrome today. So come on over there. We're talking about comparison. And that's why I was collecting data in this group for that. So, yes, you'll see what that's about. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Terry. Bye.
Well, you're still here.